Well, Melissa, thanks for meeting with me today. We wanted to get together and talk a little bit about some common questions that people have related to CWNP, the certifications and services that we offer, and how they can benefit their organization. Now, Melissa, you work directly with our clients and customers on a regular basis, so you actually hear more of those kinds of questions than I do in many cases. But I do have some of that technical knowledge that helps us to figure out exactly how to address the answers to those questions. So that's why we've come together today, and we're going to have several different questions that we answer in a series, and people will be able to view the answers to those questions and hopefully feel a little better understanding about exactly how they might work with us and what benefits our certifications offer and so forth. So, Melissa, what's the first question that you have there?
Why should a company partner with CWNP in the education and certification of their team?
Well, that's a great question. There are a lot of options out there. When you look at certifications, you have vendor-specific certifications and vendor-neutral certifications in the IT space. Those are the two general categories. So vendor-specific certifications are those that are offered by a company that makes hardware or software. Microsoft, Cisco, Aruba Networks with HP, Mist Systems, and on the list goes. A vendor neutral certification is one where you're not really learning a specific piece of software or vendor's hardware solution, but rather you're learning the general concepts of how these various technologies work, regardless of the vendor they come from. So vendor neutral certification provides a really solid level of knowledge that is transportable. That means that, if I go work for a different company that I'm working with today, and that company is supporting Aruba access points, and the one I'm working with today is supporting Mist access points. Well, the general knowledge that I have from CWNP works with me either way. But it's not just about transporting the knowledge when people move from one company to another. The more important thing is when companies change technologies that they use. I've seen this to be the more common scenario where a company has been using, let's say, Cisco APs for years, and because they like the artificial intelligence mechanisms that are being employed in Mist systems, they decide to change over to Mist technologies. And now all of a sudden, their support professionals need to understand a whole new solution. Well, the reality is that 75 or 80% of what you need to know about any vendor's wireless solution is the same regardless of the vendor. Because knowing what drop-down box to change to what setting or what button to click or what checkbox to check in the interface is the simple part. The hard part is understanding what happens when I change that drop-down combo box, or I click that button, or I check that checkbox. What's it really doing on my network? And understanding that is essential. That's what vendor-neutral certifications do. They give you the underlying knowledge that exists with all of those different vendors so that you can most effectively support those technologies. Now, let me add to that before we move on from this question, the all-important changes that are happening now because of IoT. So IoT is making it so that companies that maybe they were fairly vendor-specific for a long time, they used the same vendor for everything. Now they're moving into wireless technologies that are not even Wi-Fi. They may be using some proprietary technologies coming from an IoT vendor that has their own unique wireless protocol that's not based on any standards, or they might be using a standards-based wireless IoT protocol. But the point is there are literally dozens of those protocols out there and hundreds of vendors picking and choosing among these different protocols or creating their own. And so the ability to have this vendor neutral kind of knowledge in the IoT space is super valuable, because now it means that when a company wants to do one thing in their corporate offices and another thing in their warehouse and another thing in their industrial manufacturing environment or what have you, they have technologists that understand all of these different technologies because they have that vendor neutral certification. So to me, that's the big reason why organizations today should partner with CWNP, so they get that foundational knowledge that will give the success their engineers need to implement the systems that they're implementing in their companies.